Hi, and welcome to the Quick and Dirty Romance Podcast. We're your hosts, romance authors and bicoastal friends for life. I'm Skye McDonald, author of the Connecticut Commodores Hockey Romance series.
And I'm Sarah Smith, author of the steamy Denver Bashers hockey romance series.
And together we are Sarah Skye, author of the best-selling Unlikely Pairing series.
Each episode will dive deep into what it's like to be a contemporary romance author. We'll talk writing inspiration, give you the inside scoop about the publishing world, chat about how we write those infamous sex scenes, and more. And then we'll pull out and wrap it up in 30 minutes or less, but we promise to leave you satisfied.
Okay, please stop what we're doing. We need you to take a moment right now. Go to the app wherever you're listening, whether that's audio or YouTube. Do you see the stars on the page? They might be under our logo. Go ahead and tap some of them for us. Give us a rating before you forget, please. The more people who react to this show, the more momentum that gives us, and we would really appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay, so today our topic is the meat hate.
Hmm.
We're flipping a little bit because everybody knows about the meet cute in a romance. But now we're going to talk
Yes,
about the meat hate.
the
Sky?
meat hate. Yes. That moment when two characters meet each other and instantly go, no. But that
Yeah.
knee jerk turns out to be oh so wrong. Why is this device fun? When does it hit home? And when does it fall flat? That is our topic for today. Let's discuss and dive right in, especially as it applies to our own writing. All right, so Sarah, meat hates this. First of all, I'll just go ahead and say you're the one who thought of this topic. I was instantly intrigued. So I'm curious, what made you think of it and where do you want to take it from there? Go.
Okay, so I thought of it just because, so everybody, like if you're a romance reader or writer, you know, like everybody knows about the meet cute. It's when the two characters, the two main characters who are eventual love interests, they meet and it's like cute and their attraction sparks and you can tell like there's just gonna, you just know like fun stuff is gonna happen because they like each other, but they can't be together yet. But like, what's so interesting about that is that like, there's the opposite of that, which is the meat hate. So how do we get from like hating each other as characters to the very, the happily ever after? Or even like even before that, like how do you go from like two characters meeting, they don't like each other, or they have a misunderstanding, or something happens, or they're in direct conflict or competition with each other. And at some point they have to like because you're writing a romance, obviously, at some point they have to like each other. There has to be an attraction. There has to be like a building of the romance and their relationship. So how does that even like happen? How do you go from hating someone to like being in love with them? And I also brought it up because, and we'll talk about this later, but I have never I could not imagine meeting someone in real life and hating them and then getting to the point where I like them romantically and want to be with them. Like I just and I know
Yeah.
people who have met their partners like, oh, I hated him when I first met him. I hated it. And then they ended up together. And I just like, there's just something really curious about that to me. Like how does that happen? And I'm like, and I've been curious enough about it where I've written quite a few meat hates in my books.
Mhm.
Like I went through my books and I've
Right?
written about half of the characters meeting are meat hates. Like maybe a little less than half. And then the rest are meat cute. So like clearly I'm obsessed with this. I didn't even know I was.
Um, yeah, I'm thinking through my titles, and I definitely have a couple of ones that fit the bill. But overall, I actually don't lean into this trope because I think, and it is curious what you're saying about real life. So let's get there as well. I think it lends itself great to an enemies to lovers
Oh
in
yeah.
a way. And I know that you love some enemies to lovers. So I am not surprised this is a trope that you particularly enjoy. It is interesting. This phrase meet cute has gone, I find that HEA is pretty insular to the romance community, but I was actually quite amused because the TV show Slow Horses, which is a show about MI5 agents. So it's like a British spy drama starring Gary Oldman. they actually referenced meet cutes in that movie or in that show, which has nothing to do with romance or comedy or anything. But like this guy is like, we're having a meet cute, and the other like this is like a Russian gangster. He's like, what the are you talking about? But I was just like, oh, this term has gone out into the world now. This is a thing that more people know. So the meet hate is an interesting flip on that. But I just like it intrigues me the way that that has become more known. The meat hate, it really does set up nicely for a lot of conflict, right? For a lot of like watching two people butt heads and then come to understand them better. So let's take this through. I think the best way to do this is like take some examples from our books and explain without spoilers how we get from uh-uh to oh yes uh in the span of, a few hundred pages. So Sarah, go first. This was, like I said, this was you inceptioned this, but like walk us through one of your favorite meat hates that you have written and how you flipped it without giving it all away.
Okay. So in my Denver Basher series, my book, Suck My Puck, there's a meat hate. And I was really proud of myself for coming up with this. So the characters meet because they're neighbors in the same apartment building. And the main character, his name is Braden, and he's the goalie, and he's in a slump, and he's just like not doing well. And he's just like completely off. And he is on his way to practice, and he locks himself out of his apartment, and he leaves his phone, and his phone is like blasting music because that's how he pumps himself up for um practice, is he has like a playlist. And so he's gone, and it's early in the morning, and his neighbor, she works late. So it's like his neighbor, Bella. She is coming off of a really bad breakup. Like her ex like stole money from her. So she's like trying to pay off. She has all these crappy jobs and she's working late. And so like she wakes up to the sound of like her neighbor's terrible blasting music. So she's really upset, obviously. So she gets up, goes to his apartment, pounds on his door to get him to turn off, but he's not there. But then like a second later, he comes and he's like, "What is your problem?" And she's like, "What is your problem? You're blasting music like an a-hole. I'm trying to sleep." And so like it's just this like, so right off the bat, they don't like each other because he's having a bad
Mhm.
day. Like he understands that his music blasting is like inconsiderate, but he's like, what is it? Like, why is she like so pissed about this? Like that's not cool. And she's like, this guy's an inconsiderate D-bag. I hate him. Also, it's real like she knows that he's a hockey player and her ex is a hockey player. So like she hates all
Mm,
hockey players, obviously.
of
Um,
course.
so like right off the bat, like they hate each other. So like it's just yeah, but it's instant tension too, right? Like in
Right.
the moment, so in the moment when they're both like angry at each other, they both acknowledge to themselves, like, okay, this guy's really hot, or like, oh, she's really hot, but like, oh, I can't stand her. Like, look at her freaking out over something that's not a big deal. And she's like, oh, what a considerate, like, jerk he is, inconsiderate jerk he is. So, like, obviously, there's a tension of the way that they met, which is not good, but there's also the tension of like their attraction. So they're physically attracted to each other, but
Hmm.
they're also like neighbors. So there's a physical proximity that like they
Hmm.
can't, it's not like, running into somebody in the street and like you never see them again. Like this is your neighbor. You're going to see them again. Like whether or not you want to, you're going to. And they do. They see each other a lot.
Of
So
course.
yeah. So that's like so obviously, and she is also because of course she can't, she's also the bartender at the bar that he and his teammates hang out at.
Okay.
Yeah. So like she runs into him a lot. And it's
She
like
can't get away from him.
she can't get away from him. And it just drives her crazy because she's like, I can't stand this guy. He's like, of course the universe would give me another like douchey hockey player to deal with. But that's before they know each other. And as they get to know each other, obviously, they realize they had each other pegged wrong initially. But
Huh.
it's that instant, like that initial meeting, it did not go well at
Right.
all. They hate each other.
So as you're saying that, I'm hearing, excuse me, I'm thinking of a lot of things, both from my book, our books, and the why behind this. So, or one of the whys, which I think is interesting. So, in my first ever book, Not Suitable for Work, I would call that a meat hate, but it's much more low key. So, in the story, Celeste is down on her luck. She has like almost no money. She's surviving on like baked potatoes in this like crappy apartment, and she needs a job. And she's been told that she's doing an internship to hire, and she walks in and come to find out she's actually competing for the job as an intern, but against one person who is Ben Edison. Um, the two of them, when they meet, have this like, what is happening? Because neither of them were understood the like clearly what was going on. And there is absolutely attraction, especially on his part. But almost immediately, they learn that they are each other's rivals, right? Maybe not enemy, but definitely a rival. And so Celeste immediately like slams down any opportunity to collaborate or to, commiserate. She's like, no, I will win and you will leave, and that will be the end of this. Because she is so broken and so brokenhearted that like she cannot afford anything else, literally. And so, like, there's a scene early on where, so again, to your point, forced proximity immediately because they're the only two people in this office building or this like suite in the office, and they have to work against each other, but they're stuck together all the time. And so then, like, they go out for work drinks, and they're talking because they're the only two there to begin. And he's like, why do you hate me? And she's like, well, because you're a jerk. And he's like, am I? And she's like admitting to herself, like, you are not. But she has to kind of hold that because she is so desperate to get her life back that she does not want to like lose her momentum in any way, shape, or form. And then I thought about Vibes and Feels by Sarah Skye, which is also a meat hate because Morgan, like, they meet and they immediately hate each other because he's her ex's or her bestie's ex, right? So
Mhm.
Marco, um,
Yeah. Yeah. That was a
like
fun
they,
one. I like that one. I think we did a
it
good.
was, we did, and like they run into each other, but they already know each other, and they're like, oh my God. But then again, through a series of events, they are forced together to like work on a thing. And what I'm hearing in what you're saying, and then as I'm thinking through these two examples, is that I think one of the reasons that a meet hate can work is because what you're actually doing is presenting to a single version of each of the characters. And what the story will beautifully do is pull away those layers of like why they are not getting along, right? Like why they are presenting this really like either aggressive or annoyed front or like a knee jerk, I don't like you because of all these things I know about you in the case of Morgan and Marco. Um, so I think that real world applicable, it's the idea that when you meet someone, you're only getting like a very small snapshot of them. And if that snapshot is something where they're in a state of like defense, it can be more like, oh, I don't like you.
Mhm.
Do you have a different version of it?
No, I mean, I honestly think you're really spot on, at least for me, because that's like generally how I tend to write those.
Hmm.
So like it's always a matter of when my characters have a meat hate, it's because they're catching each other on like a really bad day or like it's just a
Okay.
bad moment. Like because
Hmm.
we all have those. Like we can't all like life isn't just going to be awesomeness 100% every single day. Like sometimes life sucks or you're just going through it and this person who maybe in other circumstances you would get along really well, but like you guys are both meeting each other on like your worst, like in
Hmm.
your worst moments of life, but like they keep seeing each other again. So they start to like realize, oh, maybe you're not just like a one-dimensional jerk who
Hmm.
blasts his music in an like with for Suck My Puck with Bella and Brayden, like because she's a bartender at his favorite bar, like they have to see each other and talk to each other. And he like and he goes up and apologizes to her for like being a jerk. And like they end up having like a cute like a flirty conversation, but like she kind of has to remind herself like okay, but he's like a hockey guy. Like I know hockey guys. They're jerks. They're
Hmm.
douchebags. And that's why she doesn't let herself think of him as like nicer because her in her experience like she's been screwed over by like her ex.
Hmm.
But like despite that, he's re despite that, Brayden is like really sweet to her and like really patient with her. So like they clash a lot, but he's a good person in that he can recognize like, okay, she doesn't like me, but I kind of like her. And like, I'm not gonna like put her through it because she doesn't like me. Like, I get it. And also, like, there's a little bit of like, I think he likes the challenge of okay,
Mhm.
I don't know how you've written your hockey heroes, but like my hockey heroes that I've written in my series, like women like them and like they don't have a problem like
Mhm.
getting women to like them. So like every once in a while, one of them will encounter a woman who like does not want to have anything to do with them, and then they like the challenge of trying to like, oh, so she doesn't like me. Why is that? Like I need to like do something about it. And I think it kicks off their like competitive
Hmm.
instincts. Like I can make her like me, but I don't that's just like me taking it there. I don't even know if that's true. I don't know.
I definitely have worked with the idea that the guys don't have any problem like catching female attention. And I'd say the only meet hate in the Connecticut Commodore series is Scored On.
Mhm.
And that's an interesting one because it's kind of like we're talking about, like you're seeing one version of them, but it's also got a lot of legs to it. So first of all, they were each other's seventh grade bullies, mutual bullies. Like
Okay.
they both tormented just like the hellfire out of each other. So as soon as she realizes that he's the one she's going to have, Stella is a PR rep, and Ethan's come in and he's a train wreck, but he's also like his Instagram feed is him making out with a different girl, like in every single post. Like, so he's got that cowboy like persona, and she knows him from childhood. So like she's immediately like, oh my God. And then when they do meet, he's drunk, like in the middle of the afternoon. And that's actually part of the story, is that Ethan has a drinking problem. And so she's immediately on guard because she can see this like shadow of the kid who teased her, but also she's got a mess on her hands who's been drinking Jack Daniels all afternoon. So there's like, it's kind of hate, but it's also kind of like, oh, no, just no, there's not, no. But then, like, to your point, he doesn't really work to get her to like him, but the more that she sees of who he really is, and then, of course, she has to admit that she actually did have a huge crush on him when they tormented each other. So there's like a lot of background to it. But it is a kind of a complicated, it's not just that he's having a bad day, it's that she's seeing truly what his vulnerability is, right? And it makes her defensive because it's initially very off-putting. So that's like an interesting kind of like change to it. And in a similar way, like Nemesis, when they met, they were kids. Like she was in high school and he had just started college. And they have this really weird meeting where like she's in his dorm room, but it's not sexy. It's like, again, she was like a freshman in high school. But she's his brother's, like his brother was Will's roommate. So like there's this very awkward meeting. And then the whole time, Liv is sure that Will hates her, right? So like everything that they come from is like this meat hate, but he never hated her. And so kind of to your point with Brayden, it's like he sees that, she has her defenses up and everything, but in a different way, Will is like not going to try to win her over. He's going to kind of push her like even harder and be like, no, you can do better. Because that's how Liv and Will roll. So it is interesting, like the kind of modifications where you think you know something about somebody, or so to your point, with Bella, like she thinks she knows stuff about Brayden because of who he, like the stereotype. And so both like the armor that we show somebody, but also the conclusions that we jump to is what I'm hearing there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly like that's such a universal theme in romance, I think.
Hmm.
Like when you meet someone and you get the wrong impression of them, and then but as you get to know them better, you're like, oh, you're not what I thought you were.
Yeah.
And there's like that's kind of like one of the most exciting parts of reading a romance is when you can see the characters like start to realize like, oh, he's not or she's not what I thought she was. She's actually
Mhm.
this. I really, really like that about her. And I think it can reflect real life too, because I think we've all, not necessarily even in a romantic context, but like I think we've all met people in our lives and like we didn't like them off the bat, but
Mhm.
then I think we got to know them. We're like, oh, actually, I had the wrong impression of you because I caught you on a day when you like got pulled over and got like a $400 ticket, or you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like something like that. So you weren't in the greatest mood, and I get that because I wouldn't be in a good mood either. But like, but no, it's just interesting how it's such a fun storytelling technique in romance. Can I ask Sky, do you as a romance author and reader, do you like meet cutes better or do you like meet hates better?
Really like either one as long as it's done well. A
Yeah.
meet cute, you then have the hurdle of figuring out why they're not together,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like if they immediately insta attraction, right? In the crease is my example of instant. Well, I have a couple of them actually. Actually, three of my hockey books are basically insta attraction. But
I mean,
you
it's a
then,
romance. It's they're all
yeah,
gonna
you then
be.
have the like hurdle of like, cool, they're into each other, then what? Right?
Mhm.
And then you build the story around sort of, and that's interesting because it's like I find those more typically get built around external circumstances pulling you apart, right? The reasons why you shouldn't be together for either like propriety or other people, what
Mhm.
is it that's keeping them from making that work versus the meet hate where it really is more of a character unfolding, right? And like connection organically. And I think that's why the two work, both of them work really beautifully. But my one thing about a meet hate that can go very wrong as a reader is if you set it up, not you, but like if it is set up and I can't get past how douchey they were to each
Yeah.
other.
Oh, totally.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like pranks or people being embarrassed. Um, so and that's one of the reasons I really liked Stella and Ethan because they were mutual bullies as children, right? Like he didn't just torment her. She like put sand in his lunchbox, like so, but like as adults, I don't want to see somebody humiliated um or really like torn down. So I think that there are ways that you can do it where I'm immediately like, no, 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 no. But that's the whole enemies to lovers trope, and that's where it can be difficult is when you actually don't understand why these two people would ever like each other.
Right.
So I think that there is a way to do it where it's like, oh no, you went too far. You went too far, babes.
Right.
Um, but for the most part, I find them very fun because they do initially like bring immediate attention, or sorry, bring immediate tension. Like I'm thinking of like Jules Barnard's The Roommate, where like immediately you can see that these people are going to be good together, but like their circumstances didn't start off that way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like them both. I'm guessing you lean more towards the hate.
Yeah, so actually I love a good meet cute. Like I it's not I don't like one vastly more than the other. It's I notice if I read or write a lot of meet cutes in a row, I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood to like write a meet hate or read a meet hate.
Mhm.
I want these two to like just really go at each other. That's just I don't know
Fair.
why. In real life, I don't like that. I hate that feeling. I hate the
Mhm.
feeling of meeting somebody and like I'm like I'm not gonna like you. I hate that feeling. So I don't know why I like it so much in fiction.
Have you ever had a meat hate that worked out?
No. Okay. I have never had a meet hate that worked out romantically.
Okay.
Romantically, I have only ever like had like oh I met this person and I like them like I really
Hmm.
like that like and I in not like insta love like I'm in love with them but like
Yep.
no I'm attracted to them they're cute they're sweet like I instantly like them. I have had a few meet hates friendship wise
Yep.
and work wise so like um I in one of my old jobs there was a guy who worked there sorry I hated this guy. He was just like very and you could tell like it was like his first job he just did not know how to act um in an office like he wasn't like doing illegal things but Like just not like understanding like, hey, you don't come to work and talk about these things, or you don't ask people like stuff like that. And like to the
Ew.
point where I went to HR and I complained about him. Yeah,
No.
I did not like this guy at all. And then like and I don't know what happened after that, but I think he got spoken to. And he actually ended up like when I left that job, I was on good terms with him. Like I liked him just fine. He was cool. It was good. But like
Good.
yeah, but no, I could not even imagine. Um I couldn't even imagine hating somebody the second I meet them and then like later on feeling attracted to them. And I don't even know why that is because I have met I have friends of mine or people I know who like, oh, I we hated each other when we first met each other, but now we're like crazy about each other. And maybe it is that instant tension that you brought up. Maybe there was a tension that happened initially that like maybe it just came on like the wrong side of things because they caught each other in a bad moment. But then like eventually when they got to know each other, like it ended up being fine and they liked each other. How about you?
Yes. I've certainly, I mean, hate is a strong word, but I've certainly gone on dates where it's like, oh no, no, no.
Yeah.
But that's it. We're done
Right.
here.
Right. Yeah.
At the same time, there is no forced proximity where it's like I'm going to meet them again, right?
Sure.
Like if it so like I've never fallen in love with a coworker or something like that, right?
Mhm.
So I do not have an experience of a romantic connection that started as like, ugh. Um, I'm making sure that no, that's real because yeah, like because I don't know if you go out on a date, like a hinge date with somebody, and you're like, ugh, then you're just like, okay, bye. That's
Right. You're
it.
not gonna
Next. Thank you.
ask
Next.
to see them and
Yeah,
you're not.
exactly. Exactly. It's interesting you mentioned friendships because like I have definitely had that and coworkers where it's like, oh gosh, no, no. And then they turn out being awesome. So yeah, and I've also had plenty of people say to me in previous chapters of my life, like, "Oh, I thought you hated me when we met," and I was like, "No, I
Really?
just, yeah, I used to be a lot more brusque
Sure. Yeah. But that doesn't
in
necessarily
my
mean,
younger days,
yeah.
but like I could come off as pretty like focused and aloof." And a lot of people like had a hard time meeting that. And I'm not that way anymore. I'm like, I am nice. I promise I'm nice. But like, yeah. So, but I have had plenty of people where it started off, and I've been like, I don't know. And then we were like very good friends. You are not one of those people. We had
No.
instant
Yeah.
attraction.
We had instant chemistry, right?
Yeah, we did. We did. Um, and again, to that point, if we hadn't, I don't think we'd be here because
No.
we met on Twitter. So, like, why would we have been like, oh, let
Right?
me get to know them? I'm like,
No, not at all.
next.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I don't. I guess it is plausible that you could meet somebody and fall in love with them over time. Like, but yeah, it would be hard to get past that like initial, unless it was a situation where they were really kind of rock bottom and having a terrible time, and it was like, oh, that actually wasn't you. But I don't, yeah, I don't see that. I'm not saying it's impossible. I would love to hear from listeners who how to meet hate with their partner. I
Yeah.
might put that to my Facebook group. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. In real life, it happens with friendships. It's pretty easy. But like with romance, not so much.
No. And I feel like maybe that's why I write about it so much because I find it so intriguing and so implausible in my real
Yeah,
life. I'm like, you know what? I'm really fixated on this. Let's write these two people who hate each other,
maybe,
but they're gonna end up together. I don't know.
maybe, maybe. But for now, hate, love, it was all good for me. Was it good for you, Sarah?
Hell yeah, it was good for me.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for listening. Now, don't forget, if you haven't already, drop a review right now, wherever you listen. Just the stars, that's all we need. Also, of course, read our books. We have many books, more than our hockey books. And of course, we have our books together. We are both on KU individually, and our Sarah Sky books are on KU as well. Speaking of Sarah Sky, find us on Instagram at author Sarah Sky. I'm on Instagram as author Sky McDonald, but more frequently on Facebook as author Sky McDonald.
And you can find me on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok I'm at author Sarah S. We love to hear from you, so reach out and DM us with any questions or requests for future episodes.
Thank you again for listening, everybody. We'll see you soon.